It's got that old 60s and 70s screen door wire finger bleeder action. That's the tell that it's a cheap guitar, but it's a lot like the guitars that were around when I was a kid, all over the place, especially, you know. Well, if you were around in the early 2000s, you probably saw a guy named Esteban, at least that's his entertainment name, selling this guitar. It's an AL-100 on late night infomercials, right along with, I don't know, steak knives, hamburger fryers, bras, Wonder bras. You know, and some of those guys, they can sell ice cream to the Eskimos. You end up watching that, and it's actually pretty entertaining television. But if you're not careful, you end up buying stuff that you don't really need. I've always found there's a humorous value in at least some of those infomercials, and I think this one was kind of like that. But this is little song playing soft and low. I can hear you playing by my window. Just a melody playing soft and free. Won't you play that little song for me? But this is the Esteban guitar. This is the basic one. There are several. Esteban was a line of guitars, but this is the one they sold on TV. The AL-100. I saw a guy, the Samurai Guitarist, he has a channel, and he had some humorous remembrances of Esteban and some kind of humorous takes on those old infomercials. But it kind of piqued my curiosity, so I found this used one on eBay, and I bought it for $160. Now that's kind of interesting. Right away you notice this guitar sold famously for 3 easy payments of $33. So it's basically a $100 guitar. And I paid more than $100 for it, and I didn't see one for less than $100. So I find it rather interesting that they actually go for more now than they did at the time. And I thought that's either because it was a better guitar and it's worth more than $100, or it's kind of like old Partridge Family lunchboxes or something. It's sort of becoming a Americana memorabilia item. But there's Esteban. But funny thing, and I really wish I knew how such a pretty little song could make you feel just a little blue. No pain, I guess I really can't complain. It's a feeling that I really can't explain. One thing, looks like they saved some money. That tuner is really loose. And the tuners, you can tell the gear tuning ratio, those are just loose as anything. It might be fixable, or I don't know if that's, if a kid owned this guitar, they can be awfully hard on a guitar. But one area where clearly they saved some money was on the tuners. That also makes me think a kid owned this guitar, because it looks like it was sitting in a room or something with kids playing in it. Little song playing in the night, coming through my speakers in the dashboard light. Just a little glow from my radio. Won't you play that little song I know? My basic take is this is a lot like a good beginner or intermediate guitar that I would have grown up with, like a beginner guitar. I wouldn't even say, but back in like the late 60s, early 70s. And this is the guitar I learned on. This is an old Harmony. This actually isn't the exact guitar I learned on, but it's this is the one I learned on, and I played all John Denver, Jim Croce. I learned to be a pretty good guitar player on this old guitar, one just like it. And I found this on eBay, and I bought it for $20 just for the sheer memory of it. And I probably paid $19 too much for this. But this was, I remember, because my parents bought me this exact guitar, one just like it, for my 6th grade birthday, and I remember them saying it was $80 for this, an old Harmony. And I played it for years, and it tuned up, and I would say this is better than that Harmony, and I played on that Harmony for a lot of years. One thing... The one thing I think that this guitar came out around 2000, and I don't think it was done with computer numerical cutting or lasers. I think this was done with the way they used to do necks before. And of course, computer numerical cutting was around in 2000, but there was probably, I don't know, I'm speculating that there were probably, some old guitars or machines that still did them kind of the old way, like this one was made. And so the thing that I think is sort of a tell on this is it does, the strings are way off the necking spot, especially when you get up here, and that's what a lot of those old cheap guitars had. And I think the better guitars now, even the cheap guitars, don't really do that so much anymore. It's kind of one of those old finger bleeders where, especially when you go up the neck. But that was the way all cheap guitars used to be, and this is a lot better than the cheap guitars of yesteryear. So I was thinking maybe it's kind of a nice guitar. They put some nice stuff in it and probably made a ton of money and sold a bunch. But I'm pretty sure the neck at least was made with old guitar technology like I would have grown up with. And when you paid $99 for a guitar back then, you kind of figured it wasn't going to be that great, and but you could learn to play. But down here it plays pretty well. I mean, it's when you get up here, you start to have intonation issues, but not all that. I mean, it's not extreme. This is not a bad guitar. I mean, no one's going to compare it to a Martin, but, I mean, it's definitely a guitar you can play. It's definitely a guitar maybe you could give to someone that didn't play that much. But, I mean, it's not like some unplayable joke at all. one thing is on a cheap guitar, a lot of guitars have this problem. You play a G chord, it's in pretty good tune, and then you go to an E chord and you need to retune, or you go to a D chord. But a better guitar, the strings will be in pretty good tune, and you should be able to just play all those open chords. And this one seems to do it pretty well. Like I said, when you get up the neck, you're gonna have problems. And it's got that old '60s and '70s screen door wire finger bleeder action. That's the tell that it's a cheap guitar. But it's a lot like the guitars that were around when I was a kid, all over the place. Especially, unless you had, unless you were an adult and you had like a really nice guitar. But like these are the kinds of guitars kids all used to play on, and they didn't have this nice finish. I mean, that's really not such a bad looking guitar, and I'm pretty sure it's a solid spruce top. Like I said, I personally think that it was right around the time they still, somebody somewhere in the world, and I imagine it was in another country, still was kind of making guitars in the old way, and they knew they wouldn't have the value of the newer guitars that were done with the computer cutting and the numerical cut, the measurements and everything with the computers. And they had some old school guitar stuff still around, and they made this thing. And it's pretty nice. Like I said, you get up here, that's that old finger bleeder right there. That was like the guitar I learned on. And this Harmony is a finger bleeder too, see? Look. See that? That's a finger bleeder. You're not going to be tearing up. Look at that. That's way off the neck. And that Esteban's kind of like that. But this actually needs a string. So, but that Esteban's way better than this Harmony. But this Harmony you can play, I mean, especially down here. Like I played this guitar one just like it for 5 years, and I got pretty good. I played a lot of Jim Croce. Mostly what I played was down in this area of the guitar. Maybe once in a while I'd like do a Stairway to Heaven. I remember what, kind of go up the neck, and that's. But for years, you just learn all your basic open chords on an acoustic guitar, and a lot of those old guitars would play in that first position fairly well. The bad reputation they got often came from when you went up the neck. And that's the kind of thing you don't see on a newer guitar, I don't think. Even the cheap ones don't have finger bleeders way off the necks like that anymore. And this guitar has that. So that's my review, is that I think it's kind of an old school beginner guitar, and it's a heck of a lot better than a lot of the beginner guitars that were around when I was a kid. But I do think it's kind of like a 60s beginner guitar neck. I think the woods and everything are really nice, but I think the neck and the tuners are kind of cheap. But not too bad. I mean, you can play that guitar. And what I noticed is it's not all that cheap, because you have to get a used one. And I didn't see any used ones selling for less than they sold new. So you tell me. Go figure. Thanks. God bless.